Hello, this is Danielle Joffe. I'm the founder of Whole Equals Healthy, and this is my third Facebook Live event. I am happy to have you here and join in. I'm the founder of Whole Equals Healthy, as I said, which is a platform for the application of ancient wisdom in our modern world. And this is the third Facebook Live event. The first one that I gave last week was all about setting intentions. The second was about awareness and how to build it. And tonight's is about forgiveness. Probably my favorite topic and the technique I use most in the work that I do with people. So as you join me, please do let me know that you're here. Put a comment in the comment little section there, or send a wave or something. It really is wonderful to see you here and have your presence with me. So I want to introduce myself a little bit so that so that you have a sense of where I'm coming from and what I'll be talking about. And so, as I said, my name is Danielle Joffe. I am the founder of a platform called Whole Equals Healthy. It's a platform for delivery of ancient wisdom in our modern world. And I am trained as a doctor of Oriental medicine. I have a master's in spiritual psychology, and I have 25 years of working with human consciousness. And in those 25 years, I've come to know one thing, which is that in order to truly heal, we must take into account all of who we are. I see John is there. Hello, John, and Rebecca. Hello, Rebecca. So nice to see you guys and have you with me. So as I was saying, the key, or a very important part of healing, is in truly recognizing that we are multidimensional beings and that we need to include all of those aspects of who we are, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. And bring harmony to those levels in order to find our healing path. So I was trained as a doctor of Oriental medicine. As I said, I hold a master's in spiritual psychology. And I work with people in all aspects of their life. So a lot of times that's health, with their physical health, but sometimes it's when they're stuck in their lives. And that could show up in relationship, it could show up in career, or it could just show up in feeling kind of a lack of fulfillment, or a sense that there's more for you out there that you're not really able to achieve. So I have a question for you. And that question is, where are you stuck? Is there a situation in your life that just keeps getting in the way of you experiencing the life you thought that you would have? Is your health where you want it to be? Are you stuck in any pattern where you keep going from point A to point B, but you end up at point Q, you know? I want to talk about how we can bring more harmony and healing here. But first, I want to tell you that there'll be, offer this free webinar that I'll be giving next week, both on, actually on February 7th and February 8th, and it's called it's How to Get Everything You've Ever Wanted, which has that for a title. That's going to be on February 7th at 12:30 and February 8th at 8 o'clock at night. That's our Eastern time. And that's a 45-minute webinar, free. And so I hope to see you there. And there's a little link there in the blurb of this live event where you can register for that. And we'll be talking about the topics that I've already brought up, things like intention, things like forgiveness, things like presence, and how to cultivate these important aspects to begin to create a life of meaning and fulfillment, and truly the life of your dreams. So, as I asked before, if you've ever found yourself in a pattern of trying to get from point A to point B, but always ending up at point C or Q, it's likely that there's a pattern in the other than conscious that is undermining that goal. Now, if you remember, if you were here with me in that other live that I gave, I showed this little picture right here, which is a representation of, well, of say you or anyone. And this 95% right here, that is the other than conscious. And this little piece right there, that's the conscious self. And the thing is that conscious self, that 5%, thinks it's running the whole show, but it's really the 95% that is guiding the outcome and experience of our life. So you can imagine that if we want to really have the most influence over how we experience our lives, that we want to have techniques that really engage that 95%. And so that's some of what we're going to be talking about in the webinars on February 7th and February 8th. And also, it's why forgiveness as a topic is so important. So I want to talk about what forgiveness is a little bit, because a lot of people have a lot of misconceptions about what forgiveness is. We often think of forgiveness as something that we need from someone else. Maybe forgiveness is associated with religion. Sometimes forgiveness is thought of in punitive situations, but really it's none of those things. Forgiveness is truly an intentional act of healing that we can choose to give ourselves, so that we can move on, so we can be more with the greater part of who we are, rather than a limited concept of who we are. So I want to share a story with you with that in mind. It's a story of a woman I worked with, and you might relate to this story. She was a young girl earlier in her life. As a young girl, she was raised by a rageaholic father, and there was a lot of turmoil in her life, and she never knew when the other shoe was going to drop, and she lived in fear a lot. And at that point in her life, she decided that, and for good reason, that if she stayed small, if she kept herself down and didn't express herself, that she would stay safe and get more loving and be able to live her life. And the important thing to recognize here is that at the time that girl made that decision, it was probably a good one, and it was a reasonable one. And the thing is that the thing is that life happens. And as life happens, we tend to make beliefs, judgments, and attachments to what happens. And those beliefs, judgments, and attachments actually form structures in our energy field, in our consciousness. And like the walls in this room or the walls in your house, those walls actually block. They keep us. Well, we can't walk through walls, and we can't walk through our beliefs and judgments, but we can renovate, and we can deconstruct those walls in order to create more space for who we really are. So I also want to say that after 25 years of practice, what I've found over and over again is that the deepest point of healing often, if not always, is rooted in that moment of forgiveness. And primarily, I want to say primarily self-forgiveness. In my experience, practicing forgiveness is a very clear and necessary step in moving toward what you want more of. So I'm going to talk in a short bit where we'll do a little process together, just so you get a little taste of that. But I want to remind you again that that this is the third of 4 Facebook Live events. The next one will be on Thursday, February 2nd at 12:30 in the afternoon and Eastern time, and that one will be called How to Get Everything You Ever Wanted. And that one is really, that's a little Facebook Live like this, about 15 minutes, that's geared toward telling you more about the free webinar and what's going to be in that webinar on February 7th and February 8th. I also want to direct your attention to the link that is there for you to sign up for the free webinar on February 7th and 8th. I'd love to see you there, and we'll be able to engage, and there'll be questions and time for questions and conversation during that webinar. So maybe that might be helpful for you. So right now I want to engage in a little process with you, just so you get a little taste of what forgiveness is. And before we go into it, I want to remind you that forgiveness is a choice. It's a choice that we make to recognize the greater part of who we are rather than the limiting belief that may be running us. So it's not required that you feel anything. It's a decision to expand how you're looking at yourself within a situation, and let go of the things that may be keeping you stuck. So with that in mind, I want to ask you if there's anywhere in your life where you feel, well, it might show up as pain in your body. So if you have pain anywhere in your body, go there. Or if there is an area in your life where you feel stuck, or another person that you might be thinking of, who every time you think of them, they bring up anger or anxiety. I certainly have people in my life, 1 or 2, that I can do that with. And what I want you to do right now is just consider that situation, whatever that might be. And notice, do a little body scan right now, and notice where in your body you feel that tension build when you think of them, or what the emotion is. And if you can name it, great, name it. But more importantly, just go to that place in your physical body where you feel that tension, that contraction, and maybe put a hand there. And for me, I notice it's in the solar plexus. That's where I get tight and kind of anxious in there, and sometimes even feel pain. So I'm putting a hand there lovingly and compassionately with myself. And then I'm just going to have the intention here of bringing forgiveness to that area. And just quite simply directing this statement: I forgive myself for judging myself. And maybe I might even be aware of what the judgment is, like, I forgive myself for judging myself as not enough, or I forgive myself for judging myself as unworthy. Or if I'm judging another, this is a pretty good one. I forgive myself for judging that other person as the source of my upset. And then, if you would, allow a breath in and release that. And notice, is that area inside the same as it was just a moment ago before we did that process? If you notice even a little change in that one little moment of forgiveness, I invite you to join me next on February 7th and 8th, and even keep a lookout for some other courses I'll be offering specifically on forgiveness, because this tonight was really just a taste to introduce some concepts to you. And so I hope you're going to join me soon on February 7th and February 8th. And it's been just a delight to be here with you tonight. If you have questions, do let me know. I look forward to hearing from you. Take care. Bye-bye.